Elementary, my dear Watson. Well, that's rubbish. Hello, fellow humans, and welcome to the Madhouse. I'm Josh, and today is time for another coffee and a chat. Could have done with a pinch more cinnamon. I just want to talk about three things, one of which is quite unnecessary, but I'm going to do it anyway. I bought myself a new pipe pen, so I can pretend to be Sherlock Holmes and write. It is fantastic, and I am happy. And the second thing is I would like to announce the winner of my 50 followers giveaway, and that is Leanne from Living in the Netherlands. She has chosen the prizes of one moment, I'll just get it. All I Know Now by Carrie Hope Fletcher, great read, really jolly, give it a go. And Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. It's truly the first science fiction novel. Wonderful read. It won't be these copies because I like to snack while I read, so these aren't in the best condition, but I have two other copies at home, which I shall send along with a bookmark of my own design because I've started feeling creative lately. No idea what that's going to be yet. No. And the third thing is the real crux of what this is about. You'll have noticed the title says Pipes, Prizes and Crowns. I've mentioned pipes and prizes, but where on earth does crowns come into this? I was having a conversation the other day with a friend of mine based on a photograph that we come across on the internet. Now, I'm sure unless you have no access to social media or news, you'll know that the Duchess of Cambridge recently gave birth to a baby girl, and that there was a photograph released of the newly christened Princess Charlotte with her brother Prince George. They looked very, very cute. Here's the photograph. Well, of course, them looking cute is kind of a given. They're two small children, and they can afford a very expensive photographer, so I counted an opinion I don't quite understand. Alongside this picture my friend had shared, there was the wording, "Look at these European immigrants coming over here, having lots of children, taking our benefits and not paying any tax." Quite frankly, I don't understand. I can see two possible reasons behind it. Perhaps to mock UKIP's brand of xenophobia by pointing out the most British thing you can find and saying that it's not actually British. Or to show disapproval for the royal family and a desire to see them removed. The first one I have no problem with, that's fair enough. But the second I don't quite get, because I personally think the royal family are a good thing and would have them stay. It's not because I happen to believe that they're born better than us or that some beard in the sky has given them the divine right to rule, heaven forbid. That was terrible. But because of the benefits that they bring to the UK. Though I should clarify before I get to the nitty-gritty of this argument that the royal family are in fact British. Yes, they have foreign family. But of the current bout of royals, the only one not born British was Prince Philip. He was born Greek, that's fair enough, no one denies it. But he was raised in the UK, he fought for Britain during the Second World War, he has a British passport, and he gave up his claim to the Greek throne and his Greek citizenship when he married Her Majesty. In short, he is British, and so are the rest of them. Yes, if you go back, you'll find German family, you'll find French family, you'll find Spanish family, but that does not make them German, French, Spanish, or whatever. If you go back far enough, you'll find French in my family, but that doesn't make me French. I was born and raised in England. I am English, British, as are they. But now that that's settled, onto the main crux. People say that a monarchy has absolutely no right to wield any form of political power in a democracy, that it is a very affront to the principles of such a nation. But, in honesty, I tend to see this as an insurance policy for democracy. Here's the strange part, most people tend to think I'm mad when I say this, but then once I explain it, they tend to go along with it actually, it makes sense to them. Although of course you're entitled to not do that. I don't think that they should rule or govern like they did in olden days, certainly not. Any one person with that much power is dangerous and should be avoided. But in certain circumstances, due to the little quirks of the UK political system, there is no separation of Parliament and government. That is, the government is drawn directly from Parliament. If there is an important debate going on in Parliament, all of the government will be there as well. All it would take would be one bomb to simultaneously wipe out both the government and anyone with any democratic legitimacy to form a new one. In such an event, it is useful then to have someone to step in and take power until a replacement government can be found. You'll probably think that an elected president could do this just as well, but hear me out. The Queen was trained from the day she was born, because her uncle wasn't producing any heirs, to become Queen. She learned how to run a country, how to govern, how to work with people, how to lead the armed forces, how to take charge if such a thing happened. Not only that, she turned 87 this year, so with the training from the day she was born, and then, let's see, 63 years of experience on the throne, dealing with the workings of government, with law, and understanding how a country should be run. Not only that, but Charles has been trained from the day he was born, William was trained from the day he was born, George will be having training, although admittedly, I say from the day they were born, while they're still in swaddling clothes, it's unlikely, but they receive training from as soon as they're able. It's the very origins of the role, in fact. At the very core of monarchy, kingship, or queenship as it should be, and it really should be a queendom at the moment as well, but apparently that's not a thing. Yay, patriarchy, is the belief that they have to protect and serve their people. They are taught to maintain their neutrality, to be beyond politics, not to take sides, merely there to advise, guide and warn the current government about what's happening. To serve the current government as it is. Through serving the government, they serve the people. Now, yes, a president could do that, but a president, on the other hand, is not independent. They have to be elected, which means instead of having someone trained from the day they were born to govern it independently and neutrally, you have a politician. Not only do you have a politician, you end up with politicians like Cameron. Someone who went to university specifically to study philosophy, politics and economics so that they can rise through the political ranks and seize power. An elected president cannot be beyond politics because they are, by the very nature of politics in this country, a member of a political party. It's the only way they could get elected, which means that either they're going to pass every piece of legislation passed by their party in Parliament, or they could oppose any piece of legislation passed by an opposing Parliament that they happen to disagree with, purely based upon his or her political preference. Whereas the Queen, as far as we're aware, has never refused to sign a bill into law. She has given her advice as to where she thinks changes need to be made because there are flaws in it, but has never withheld her signature, withheld that seal to make it law. Presidents have done it all the time. Take 2007 in the US. George Bush had a president. The previous year, the Congress had been taken by the Democrats, and they passed a bill which would legalise stem cell research within the US. But because Bush personally disagreed with it, he refused to sign it, struck it down, used his presidential veto and got rid of it. And the same could be done here. The monarchy do not do that, cannot do that. It undermines the very nature of parliamentarism. Another argument is that they cost the public money. If I remember correctly, last year, in fact, the government gave the royal family around £43 million. Now, at first glance, that seems like a ridiculous expense, and of course you should cut it out. But you have to look a little bit deeper, and then it makes sense, and you realise it's not such an unreasonable expense at all. In fact, it's not any expense. Firstly, consider this. The royal family don't just sit there claiming benefits for nothing, as people like to call it. They are soldiers, they are diplomats, they are civil servants essentially. They are entrepreneurs, they are humanitarians. They do a lot of work for the government. Now, even so, that seems like a rather unreasonable wage, though international diplomacy is rather expensive. But then you have to consider this. This money they get through the civil list is not without cost. Do you know what they have to do get it, they have to exchange some of their own income for it. At present, the Queen exchanges the majority of the income from the Duchy of Lancaster for the civil list. That income is roughly £100 million per year. In order to get £43 million, they give away £100 million. So in fact, the government, and therefore the people, make a profit of roughly £60 million per year from them. There's also the income generated through tourism based on the royal family, through visitors from abroad who come to see the various royal locations around the UK and pay money for hotels, restaurants, shopping, and generally invest in the local economy because of the royal family. Without them there is a major vacuum in the economy that needs to be filled by something else. Of course, you'll think it probably sounds ridiculous that they give away 100 million to get 43 million. It is ridiculous because the civil list is a simple formality. It's a remnant of times gone by when Parliament needed a way to keep the powers of the monarch in check so that they could avoid another civil war. But nowadays it has next to no effect on them. Now, I'm not saying that if we were to scrap the entire system and start a new country tomorrow, I'd start with a monarchy. No, I would go for something democratic, because it makes more sense. But while we have a monarchy, it has many features that are incredibly useful, that should be kept around, that should be preserved and used before we degenerate into the American system. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know what you think. There will be many of you who disagree with me, and I see that as a good thing, because having a disagreement means that you can encounter other opinions and both parties learn from them, but other people don't. And if you want to make me happy, why not like and subscribe and even share this? That's really good. I suppose you could say that everything I've mentioned in this video was elementary, my dear Watson. Cheers!